let's go back. All right. Sorry. Here we go.
My name's Tony Long. I'm the general manager of Fred Bean's Kia in Langhorne. I just wanted to take a minute to talk about Larry Feldman, Career Changers USA. Larry and I have been working together for about the last 12 years now, and anything I've ever needed as far as recruiting, training, Larry has been right there. Larry's got me salespeople, he's got me managers, he's got me technicians even through the toughest times in the industry, and he is just the kind of guy who's going to tell you exactly what's on his mind. He's going to tell you exactly what he thinks. But Larry also has the expertise to back it up. When he was in the dealership world, he was a top performer, and that's really important to my staff, especially as it pertains to training. A lot of people can come in and teach out a textbook, but Larry has real world experience dealing with customers, dealing with situations in dealerships that we go through on a daily basis and try to train on. But Larry's been through it, so he can really empathize with the people and tell you what's worked for him and maybe what way not to go. Larry is just always at a 10. I mean, his energy level is always up there. And I think people, they just love that and they feed off of it. He's not faking it. He is genuinely excited to come in and help you. He's excited to come in and help grow your business. And he's one of those people who just really enjoys seeing dealers succeed and have a lot of fun at the same time.
Life is about connection, having a support system to lean on, and roads to endless possibility. At every turn, guiding the way, we are building the connections that move you.
So what would your dealership feel like if your entire sales staff was literally on fire, your sales and service staff? They were nonstop all over social media, completely dominating your marketplace. They could do it in 30 days or less and then continue their education to do it for an entire 6 months or a year. You literally would completely take over the entire marketplace and no one would be able to compete with you. And that's what we can do for you. So when you're walking around your community, whether you're at local restaurants or you're going to the gym, you don't want to be bothered? Fine, you won't be bothered. But a lot of people will walk up to you and say, oh my God, I love your social media. Your staff is amazing. We love what you're doing in the community. We want to come buy a car from you. We want to get an oil change at your dealership. Your community is absolutely going to love you. And it doesn't matter what platform you're on. You could be on TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all social media platforms. You will literally be all over the place. And not only will you have ads running, but your own staff is going to be promoting your brand and promoting themselves within the dealership and within the business. So it's like running an ad times 100-fold because your entire staff is participating in the process. I've traveled all over North America. I've trained Toyota. I've trained Nissan. I've been to driving sales. I've been to Women in Auto. I get hired as a speaker for conferences at universities all over the country. And I can help change the trajectory of your dealership right now.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
And I came up with a few books that are a little different this week. Let me do that. So, Stories That Stick, Building a Brand Story, Brand Flip, and Never Lose a Customer Again. These are all books around attracting and retaining customers, which I think is going to be the theme of the year. Personally, in my opinion, I'll be interested to see what happens at NADA this week. But I think those are definitely things that every dealer needs to be focused on in 2024. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, good morning, everybody. Our disclaimer has now become a very important thing to us, which is the views and opinions shared today are those of our guests and not necessarily that of the AutoHub show or Ian Nethercott or Jeff Polo. And welcome, everybody. Especially I see Wendy sitting there getting ready to do something. Just kidding.
She's taking notes. She writes stuff down all the time.
Oh, no question there. And Fred just smiled.
So another month-end advisory panel show. Of course, we're getting prepared for NADA. We'll be on plane shortly to get there. And I hear Fred and Wendy are already there enjoying the sights. So we'll see everyone soon. If you are going to be at the show and you want to be part of our ambush interview series, you can definitely reach out to us via email or text or phone call. We are booking slots now. We will be spending some time at the CDK booth to do some live broadcasting. We've been actually invited to other booths to do live broadcasting as well. So we'll be around doing interviews the whole show. So let's start. Go ahead, Mr. Jeff.
Well, welcome, everybody. I think none of you needs introductions here, but quickly, let's just say hi. In the order of tuning in, Peter, say hi.
Good morning, everyone. Peter Smith from Line Partnership. Looking forward to the show. Looking forward to NADA, and we'll see you all there.
Perfect. And next we have Larry. Hi, Larry.
Good morning, everyone. Looking forward to the show, and absolutely looking forward to seeing everybody at NADA.
Every time you see Larry, his hair's getting longer, man. I'm so impressed. Mine's getting shorter. And Fred and Wendy, we'll put you in there together. Friendy, as I call them. Thank you for joining us. Say hi.
Hi.
Hey.
I saw your picture with the sphere in the background, so you must be there. So that's good. Next, for Mr. Reeves, it's so nice to see you again. Being caught up and being part of the corporate world now, taking over everything. Say hi.
Good morning, everybody. Looking forward to the show.
And this is Doug Reeves from Amazon to Sing. And Russell, thank you for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm pumped up. I'm fired up. I am ready to go, baby.
Cool. So basically, today's discussion is about NADA. And I have a problem when people call it NADA, but that's just because the Spanish people that go there it means it's nothing. But it's the thing is what should people know about going there? Because frankly, I'll never forget the first time that I was there. It was overwhelming. It was like, holy snap and turtles, Batman! There's so much stuff. Which way do I turn? It makes the big auto shows look like nothing because there's not as much fun stuff to look at. Especially 20 years ago, there's more fun stuff. Now it's all these cute names and everything with digital stuff. So, what should we expect?
I tell you one thing that I have learned from all my times is that you have to be diligent about what you want to try to accomplish, and it's important. Like here, I know exactly where I'm going and who I'm going to see. I'm going to see a lot there, a lot more than what's on here. But these are the people that I have chosen to spend time with. to some degree or another. Other than that, as long as I've been in the industry and et cetera, just saying hi and, I have to be very intentional. I need to execute who I want to go see and when I want to go see them. Some of them actually require time slots, like with Larry and Peter, at ICOM or whatever. So that's how I approach it, because there's just too much to do. It's overwhelming. I got 4 events to go to Saturday night all at the same time. It ain't happening.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
Jeff,
just,
Jeff Peters, Russell's 100% right. Peter Smith has already plotted out a colored chart. I kid you not.
Oh, no, it's Peter. I believe it.
Yeah, because if you don't, it's like setting up your day. If you don't prioritize what you're trying to accomplish, you become the human pinball and you just keep bouncing back and forth. You've got to make a serious attempt to figure out who you want to see. And mix the social with the events that you really want to learn from and the contacts that you want to make. But it's like everything else. You want to have fun, but boy, you better have a plan.
yeah, well, I have to say that last year in Dallas, they had the Western wear guy. Hi, Tim. And the Western people with the boots and stuff there. I think you should have Mephisto have a shoe thing there for all the people with sore feet. Maybe somebody should bring in some massage people for feet. Wendy, what are your thoughts?
So I have to say this year is much different for me because the first 2, this is the beginning of our 3rd year in conventions now, and a number of things. I think that it's time to get, it happened by accident. Russell was there in an interview with Kaylee Filio. I don't typically choose a word for the year or anything, but just based on our goals, my word is execute. And from our dealers who've been, and our vendors and everybody who's been saying the same thing forever and ever and ever, it's time to execute. So to that end, my plan and my strategy is, I do think it was wonderful in planting seeds and growing relationships over the last 2 years, because I've gotten to know the people and the products that I want to represent, that I want to share, I think is a better choice of words, because that's what I like to do. And I've done my own personal vetting, I guess, call it, not even intentionally, but now this year, yes, I need to be intentional and execute. So, shameless plug, the human side of AI. I still believe it's going to be important to distinguish between the smoke and mirrors and what is really going to help our dealers affect change. And to that end, I plan on meeting a lot of people for products that, like I've gotten to know Nate Sheshel. So he's building wonderful relationships with most of us already. So between him and maybe Jen Sanford and whomever else, we're all there with the mission of, probably taking a deeper dive into the AI centric people and products. So to that, and Peter, I'd love to see that schedule if you're sharing. I'm just gonna copyright it and sell it, and that's not a bad idea. Seriously. But anyway, so I want to plan on who and where and what. Peter's thing that his spreadsheet he shared with the parties was will be very helpful. But now we need to do what you guys said, and I would appreciate any tips. But I want to map out the areas and strategically decide from Monday on who I really need to go see, because oftentimes we get distracted, especially me. Oh, something shiny, and then I'm completely off track. So I need to be intentional about those that I need to see and start them off early and use it like a time management or a planner. And if I don't make it in the allotted or proposed time slot, I need to move it to another time slot, and I need to be organized and strategic so I can make the most. And then I'll let Fred tell you what he's going to do, but he's got a really cool thing. He's actually got a plan too to add to his stuff. So that's my thing.
I was going to go to Doug and ask him next. I got to ask Fred first. Fred.
Well, it's all Wendy's idea. I mean, no, I'll do it, guys.
I'm his CMO, okay?
I mean, why I couldn't look like Robert Redford or Tom Selleck or something? No, I gotta look like Santa. Oh my gosh. So
Hey, Santa's probably the most famous person that'll be there, man.
So I got some pictures printed out. And Anyways, yeah, it's silly, but when you go, this is great.
Everybody knows Santa goes to Vegas anyway when he's done. I mean,
Really.
Hey, whoa, time out there. Don't start implying what Santa does after Christmas. Because in Vegas, there's still those things. Doug, I want to ask you, because everybody else on here were sort of like external to things, etc. I'm a little used car dealer. What, you're going to have a booth there, I assume, correct?
No,
No?
Really?
no, there's a certain initiative we're involved in that didn't really require a booth. So we're pretty much packed with meetings for the whole time surrounding the Amazon initiative, and we're at an off-site location. We're already booked up fully, and there will be a few meetings that I'll have unrelated to the Amazon initiative while I'm there at various locations. But for the most part, this is an Amazon weekend, and it's all about that.
Is Jeffy going to be there?
No.
Other than this Jeffy.
Right. Yeah.
Just want to jump on for a second here and give a little tip out there for everybody. Larry talked about my twister board of a schedule that has every single color on the platform that Google allowed me. But one of the great things out there is the actual NADA site for the show. If you go to the show, you sign in onto your platform name, and then you go to the actual event floor, and you click on every single booth that you want to go visit. They will tag each one of those, and then they will give you basically a roadmap so that you don't go from North Hall to West Hall, North Hall to West Hall, North Hall to West Hall. They will tell you exactly which ones are closest to each other, and then therefore you can plan your day around that. It's so much easier when you use that application. It is. I said to April Simmons the other day, I said, quadrant it off, because you have 3 days to be there. Do one quadrant, one quadrant, one quadrant, one quadrant, and then the final day you do your repeat. That's the key to success on the floor. We're gonna all be extremely busy. I've shared the nightlife for everyone, so they know exactly what happens throughout the day and show. But we're gonna have an absolute incredible show. Larry and I are booked everywhere to get us out to the people that don't know about us. I'm really looking forward to all of the connections that we can make.
Yeah, it's going to be, it's really going to be something. I saw something the other day that I thought very, very hard about buying and didn't, but it was a scooter that folds up into a backpack.
There you go.
yeah.
Because, going through you mentioned the halls, because I remember 2 years ago, and I was running literally back and forth between the halls, because of course the people we want to interview don't say, oh, we understand that you want to be in that hall at this time. Don't worry about it. We'll just cancel, our meetings with that just so we can see you for your convenience. No. So we just run around back and forth. I bet you my steps were like 30,000 steps a day, just literally transiting halls. So tell me something. So we're here for dealers. We're telling dealers to do these things. Actually, Tim, you got a big smile on your face. Tell me what you're thinking.
No, I just I never heard your original question. I'd love to give you my answer.
Please, I feel so bad.
No, it's my fault. I was going to go for it.
No, the initial question is basically what recommendation? And there's my verbal mess for the day. What recommendations do you have for people to navigate NADA?
Well, I think Peter's made a great note is use the tools that are provided, right, to help you wayfind across LBCC. It's it's about twice as big of a footprint as Dallas was. For all the folks that were post-pandemic super excited about Dallas last year, right? But I think I think having a plan, which has been said by several people about who you want to see. I think everybody needs to just be cognizant of something Wendy said, right? Simple questions to ask vendors. Are you a rapper? If you ask them that question, they'll know what the answer is. If they built themselves on Meta or Google or worse on ChatGPT or OpenAI / Microsoft, right? They have no control over what's going to happen with their business ultimately, because they'll be at the mercy of what's there. And the same thing for folks that are building on top of Amazon, people that are building on top of other platforms that are out there right now. It's just a real thing this year, because this is the year, as I'm sure you're going to see probably, I would say 10 different exhibits that will have large banners talking about unifying data. This is important this year, because this is the year that Google and Apple both will do their respective things to limit our access to data. Google killing the cookie, as they say, but it's their big GA4 push that they're doing right now, and Apple doing the same thing on the quest for AGI, on the quest of giving everybody a personal AI assistant and having their own walled gardens. So come from me, you wouldn't expect it to be anything different than talking about AI or data. And actually, I kick it off on Wednesday by following Amazon on the stage at the Star Alliance, talking about AI and the future of the car biz. So I'll be nice and tested before I get in those conversations with dealers after spending a day with the OEMs.
Then what happens if you ask them if they're a rapper and they actually start rapping? Right?
Here's the thing, baby.
No,
And you
something
pull out
along
your
the
4K
lines
camera.
of too many cars, too much floor plan. Last year, I was a wealthier man. I mean, I got a feeling you're going to hear that in some deals.
Oh, you're going to hear that from everybody, right? But that's not the case recently. I mean, I had breakfast this morning with a buddy who's a real estate agent, right? He's looking to get back in the software business because nobody's buying houses right now because of interest rates. And who the hell knows who's going to be president, right? So it's just
I know.
ups and downs.
I know.
Downs, right?
Nikki Haley.
Market volatility. Volatility. It's a roller coaster ride into this. And I got to give a nod to Wendy, because what Wendy has done, she's been working hard Wednesdays and all the days in between to put a group of people together on Wednesdays to talk specifically about AI, not nothing but AI, but AI and how it relates to the car biz, where the human's involved, where the human needs to stay involved. And she's got really a stellar group, and it's very diverse. And I know she's talking about Jen Sanford, but there's about 8 people that are going to be helping Wendy really spread the wings of the human side of AI over the course of the next several days. So I'm super excited about that.
And Wendy has her hand up.
Yeah, so first of all, and it's not a long enough show for me to ask the first question, but to the second point, yeah, including Tim, and Russell is in there, and Larry's in there, and Peter's in there. Man, it's becoming a great platform, and other people are going to have other intents. We're still going to we've even got a website launching, guys, and it's the same as the intent with the Clubhouse platform. We'll probably move into a Zoom platform, which we'll talk to you, Larry and Peter, about, perhaps like you suggested, having a launch on your show one week. But the idea is we still want to keep it a safe community where everybody can educate and be educated. And with the podcast we're going to start, and the blog and everything else, where it's going to be an open space, but it's going to be a gateway to those people.
Excuse me, can I order some chopped liver, please?
I mean, it's going to be just a place to. I mean,
I'm teasing, Wendy. You know me.
It's like we're up here yet, on the top of the whole planning scheme, and I'm kind of a bootstrapper. So many wonderfully fabulous and educated people amongst us on our co-hosts, and I look forward to learning from them. But my question, Tim, is what I need to know for the show is, like, you made an interesting comment about the rappers, and I'd never heard that term. I'm not quite sure I still understand what it is. So like a clear definition for our channel would be great. But to that end, people have told me, like Joe Ingram and even Robin Wilson started doing some self-education on an app, to like using ChatGPT for email responses and texts and such. And I would never have it write scripts for me because I've got my own content, but I would maybe have them make it package it differently, whatever, to be more pertinent and understandable by today's, instead of the same old stuff we never change or for 30 years. But my interest is, do I need to find an app and teach myself how to make my own AI bot, like a little Wendy that can live places and you can say, hey, my engagement's low, what would Wendy do? Or like, how am I going to find out where these people's platforms are built that are offering to do that for me, or that are asking me to join them to be the content for their BDC bots?
Right. When be real, Tim, 1 second. Be real careful when, as you move forward. I won't use any names. For once, I'll be non-controversial. But I was talking to somebody who said they reached out to someone who had actually inquired of them a question, and they realized by the second time they were talking to a bot, and it really frustrated them because they were trying to put things together. So, the cool part of your show, other than you being on it, April and Jen, is that it's the human side of AI. And man, I think we lose that. And one other thing, and I'll shut up. Let's not forget to be spontaneous too. As much as Peter has planned out beautifully, and we're going to be tagging along a lot together, you have to be spontaneous. Let's stop by some booths that we don't know. I'll tell one story that's true. Last year, I had the absolute pleasure of being tied to the hip to Jeff and Ian. They were kind enough to invite me in. I hung with them the whole show. And I hope I'm not talking out of school, but Jeff Polo, besides being a wonderful human being, has bad feet. And he's always looking for socks. So he says, do me a favor, go to one of those booths and get me a thick pair of socks. I'm not making this up. So the person that had the socks had given them all away, okay? Probably Peter had taken them all and organized them into a sock drawer, but that's a whole different story. So I went back to the booth where they were recording, because I knew there was a set there, a Shelly, Jeff's wife, had stashed them. But they were recording. I didn't want to be rude, so I went around the back of the booth. I'm not making this up. Who do I run into for the first time? Paul Brobson. He goes, Feldman, you're the crazy guy. Boom, now we're best buddies. So as much as we want to plan it carefully, it's like every other aspect of life. Russell Hill loves to quote Lennon, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. So as tight as we want this to be, let's leave room, because as much as I love Fred and Russell and Doug Reeves, I know these guys. Let's make sure we leave room to meet some people that will expand our life and our horizons. That's it. Off my head.
Yeah, I mean, when we go to shows
the
and
people at Podium, if I can interject, the people at Podium have the best socks.
well, I mean, when we go to shows and we interview,
I want to call with a guy with a sock fetish. Where did this go off the rails?
Well, my wife got mad at me about the stiletto fetish, so I figured I'd just go for socks.
well, when you go to these shows and we do interviews of a lot of different people, and we did one of a gentleman at NIADA, which was really interesting. He's got some interesting content out there these days too. But it's surprising the people you meet and interview that you didn't plan to interview, and that surprise you. So I think you've also got to look at that. But at the same time, I mean, obviously we have to look at who's out there that we haven't interviewed. And it's interesting because after we've done now, I don't know, 15 shows, we've interviewed a lot of the heavy hitters already. So it'll certainly be interesting this year because there'll be some new people, but there'll be people we've interviewed before. So it'll be interesting to see the difference there. There you go. He's got some socks for you.
There you go.
Well, I one thing I have to say, and I'm noticing more and more and more with shows are people like us, and now Peter and Larry, etc., that do these things and travel around, but so many of them have entourages. I mean, literally, I've got a couple of friends, that are MMA fighters. I might want to get them to walk in front of us and put an earpiece in and go like this. Sort of like Taylor Swift folks yesterday at the football game. You know, it's turning into an event inside an event.
Right.
Peter, are we officially pulling the hookers you're bringing the entourage? Just to make sure I have this all down.
Oh, you gave me an idea. Showgirls, Ian. We need showgirls in front of us. With the big plumes and everything.
We got some comments from Stephen Apicella. Choose quality meetings over quantity and don't seek out those you know. Challenge yourself to use the industry moment to illuminate what and who you don't know. So that's his words of wisdom for the show.
Even that's phenomenal. That's advice that's incredible, because a lot of us use these things to go visit with our friends. And I mean, we're excited about this because we get to see these people that are on here now. You know, Tim might even be nice to me this year. And just kidding. But we tend to hang around with our friends and everything else, but it's also an opportunity to meet because we're going a long way. It is business in the end. It really is.
Jeff, it was last year. I didn't know you guys. I mean, we had been on the show a couple of times, but you guys show up. I bought your drinks. So some of us went to dinner, some of us didn't. Larry, we went to dinner with Larry the night before. I'd never shaken hands with Larry before that, right? I mean, it's beyond that to what Stephen, I didn't catch his last name, but what Stephen just said, that's the prescription for any industry event, right? Is to go and learn, to go and observe. And if you're in sales, go find everybody you don't already know, right? Because that leads to somebody else that might buy from you if it's not them. And the other side of it is just to expand your view. And I think this is for all the reasons that shows like this, as much as the human side of AI are so interesting right now, is because there's nobody who can predict what the future is going to look like. There is nobody who knows what exactly works for everybody right now. So with that, take it upon yourself just to go kick the tires, to use the pun, and see what's out there. I think there's a ton of booths. There's a ton of people without booths, like Doug and me and Wendy and others and Larry, Peter. I mean, there's a ton of people that don't have booths that are walking around, but there's a lot of folks that do have booths that are brand new. This is their first NADA, right? And go see what they have to offer. I mean, especially those. I think that could be really interesting.
Well, it's very tough too, because when we've talked to many people with booths. Last year it was Dealer Image Pro. They have a little booth, and but they got big because they had the cowboy, and they've been doing these ads with this cowboy guy. And we were talking about them, and they, how do you compete against our sponsor CDK, the Cox, these massive multi-million-dollar booths? How do they compete? And that's making yourself stand out a little bit. And one thing that I do want to say to people that work in booths is they have to connect. They have to be out in the aisle versus sitting in the booth, because a lot of the big companies, they sit behind their counter. Yep. And you walk by, and I hate to say it, it's like going into a showroom of a dealership, even today.
Well,
and you walk in, and they go like this. They go.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because we can share our experience from Rapid Recon last year, but also from Techion a few years before. And now, granted, the Techion guys kind of look like they worked at the Gap, which was kind of funny. But that booth was slammed the entire show. And Rapid Recon is another example. They really planned it out. And I remember every morning when we were setting up, they would have a sales meeting with their team. And they had a couple of, nice young ladies and men talking to people, but they really had a plan, and they worked their plan, which I think is what Techion did. And bear in mind, that was the first time they were at the show. So it's not just the booth, it's the plan. So I think a combination of that is great. And I could see the conga line, because I was working at the time in a booth across the hall there, across the alley or whatever it was. So you could clearly see that they had really planned it out. I don't know about the matchy outfits.
Yeah, the matchy.
The matchy outfits were a little much, but the
I
other
have to tell
thing,
you something.
the other thing that was cool at that show, and I highly recommend this, the CEO of the company was there in person without handlers. He was talking to customers. So that was another masterstroke, in my opinion, for all those who are doing NADA for the first time, or maybe want to do it better this time.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned the rapid recon booth. There was this young lady. You can't help but remember her.
Yeah.
She's a bodybuilder. She's if she's wearing heels, she's 5 feet tall. And she wasn't in the car business. She's new hire for them in sales. And she was engaging every person that walked by. And she wasn't doing can I tell you about our reconditioning process? She'd do the greatest intro. Larry, you're a trainer. You know this. What do we train salespeople to say when somebody comes in? Hi there, my name is Jim. Welcome to Joe's Auto Sales. The best greeting ever. Hi. Then you can do what you want. And she'd go high, people go high. Next thing you know, they were inside the booth talking about it.
Yeah, and she was consistent the whole time we were there.
Consistent, all the time.
Yeah. There wasn't
one thing AI cannot coach is how to smile. And
Right.
then that open body language is still the universal way. You got to be flexible. You got Steve Apicella who commented. I met Steve Apicella on one of these shows, not AutoHub, and I liked it. And he was in New Jersey doing something with his team. I rode out there. We were going to meet for half an hour. We talked for 2.5 hours. Love the guy now. If you're not open to realize, listen, I love to say this in class. I'm sorry to jump back in. I love to ask who's in a committed relationship. Okay. Usually a lot of guys, ladies raise their hands. You realize 1 minute, 30 seconds before you met your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, you didn't know. So if we're not open to the possibilities of what lies before us, the hell are we doing? And one of the problems with human beings is how closed their minds are. Tim, I love to quote my hero, Ben Franklin. It sounds like a Steve Jobs quote. He said it in the 1760s. When you're finished changing, you're finished.
By the way, Steve, we'd love to have you on as a guest. Reach out to us.
Exactly. So any expert tips about Vegas, being that everyone's been there a lot of times? Any expert tips?
Here's water. Who here has been to more than 5 NADAs? Okay, so Mr. Hill, Ian, I don't want to talk to you. Mr. Hill, they changed dramatically, right? There used to be, the fancy names were associated with these tangible items. Now I always like to talk about that. Every company out there, I'm not sure if yours is, Tim, but Brain Trust is a capital B and a capital T, but in one word. How does somebody, not because of that, but what do you tell somebody? There's so many things there. There's so many platforms, and it's never been more dominated by one general topic, which is digital. What do you tell people?
Well, it depends on who you are. So, I was in retail running stores for 16 years. My agenda was different than being in the vendor space. Totally different. But I can tell you, most of the dealer principals that I know that are going there, unless they have something very specific, they don't care about the big boys. They don't care. I don't know who it was in here mentioned. They go by the outliers, small up and coming 10 by 10s that don't have a lot of money, and they spent every damn dime and probably 6 months out from paying it off just to be there, just to demonstrate what they have. And that's where all the new technology. That's where you're going to find out about all the AI stuff. Now you're going to have some of the big boys talking, but you're going to see some of the up and comers on the outliers, and they purposely go to the outliers.
That's a very good point. It's easy to get caught up in all the stuff and the socks and the swag and everything else. But in the end, it's about doing things that are better. That's
another big thing for me as a vendor. This year we decided not to spend $100,000 on a booth and do something a little differently. So it's all about networking. I'm not there to close business. That's what I'm not there for. I'm there to develop strategic partnerships, to set meetings up after NADA. And I've played both sides of that.
Thank you, Russ. Okay.
Just ask.
And give me your cell number, Israel, please.
My cell number is.
Mute, Larry.
Myself.
Yeah, I make it a point just.
All right, I'll hook them up right now. Thank you.
Just to meet people, make some connections, and set strategic meetings up. I find that by doing it that way, they're more open to you after the fact instead of look. Nobody has time. I mean, I'm fortunate that all my meetings and the people that I want to see with intent are all in the North building. But even for me, I have an agenda, and when I'm walking around, 39 years, I bump into so many different people, and conversations start. The last thing I want to do is start regurgitating all this new stuff that we're doing to somebody because they're not listening. They're focusing on where they're going, and they're already 45 minutes late.
Well, I had the opportunity, I think it was a couple of years ago, to speak to, I think it was Glenn Pash anyway, and I was talking about the different booths he's had over the years, whether it be a 10 by 10 or 20 by 20, all different things. And he says at the end of the day, it's not about closing business. It's about reconnecting with people that maybe, you've talked to in the past or you want to talk to in the future, but he says it's not about the size or the scale of the booth. It's about, really consistently and pairing all the time. And I thought it was really interesting because there's so many different takes on it. The best advice I got when I did the first show a number of years ago was if you're going to do a booth, have 2 10 by 10 booths, not one big gargantuan booth, because that way you're in both places. And I thought that was a really good takeaway. So
I like that.
I thought it was really interesting.
Decided to pass on the booth this year was, we the last 2 years we had 20 by 20 booths, and they weren't quite that much money. But then we found out where we are actually going to be this time, and that just helped us really sit back. And my business partner and I, we said, okay, let's look at the ROI we got from the last 2. Okay. And it was horrible. Now I talked to people. You also have probably done that. Ask me how. We're closing so much business, and they're lying. Okay, they're lying if they're just lying. So it's about branding. It's about exposure. It's about introducing concepts and ideas and building relationships. In the end, it's all about what we preach and talk about every day. It's all about the client, the customer. It's all about the relationship. If they like you, they trust you, they believe you, they'll set a time up and they'll buy from you if they're interested. If they're not, they're going to remember you trying to force something down their throat. So what we decided to do differently this year, because of the dismal ROI, although we got some exposure, it was great. We're gonna do a one-off private closed event that's looking like we have 157 dealerships represented in our what we call Golden Wrench Awards that we're doing. And it's going to parlay into, and people say, well, Russell, you're not advertising it as private close. So we don't want to, because so many people will feel like they were left out, and that wasn't the intent. We have so much room in this space for this 3 hours. We're going to be recognizing people in the industry.
We'll be there.
Yeah, the advertising and marketing potential comes after the fact, leading into the next one. We're going to play it for all it's worth. I'll get more out of that just from recognizing other people than focusing on me and what my company's doing.
100%. What has been interesting as I've looked at the different, promotional things that I've seen from different companies over the years, whether it's at the show or events on the side. Really it's about adding value, but more importantly, what are you doing for the community? I think that's one of the things that I would say some companies do better than others. We were talking about, I think, Dallas last year with Digital Airstrike. Huge they put on last year, but that was a lot of dealers just being celebrated for being dealers. Really, it wasn't about Digital Airstrike, even though that was who was paying for it all. But it was just a good event for dealers to be appreciated by their vendor. So I thought that was a really good use of funds, but also promotional opportunities. They even had a photo booth where people were dressed up in all kinds of crazy. It was interesting and different than I think things I've seen. Handing out free drinks may not, in the short form, may not get you any business or the right type of business.
We discovered something very interesting at NIADA, which is a big show too, not as big as this, probably more disjointed because they had to have it in so many different halls. But in talking to dealers, and the one thing that we found we didn't get the opportunity to is to talk to enough dealers as our platform, as our show. And we talked to a few people there, and their outlook of this whole thing was the first 2-3 days, whatever it was, they walked around, they absorbed. They made a list of who to go back to, and we called it, I don't think it was a Sunday, but it's like, I'll call it Buying Sunday.
Yep.
And if they're there to spend money, really, they made a commitment to not do anything until the last day, because there's nothing worse when you're sitting at the, just a second, sorry, I don't know who this is. Anybody know who Nathan S. is?
Yes,
That's
Nathan
yeah, that's ASC. That's the one Wendy was talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
Nathan Sechel.
He's okay.
All right.
Okay, good. We don't admit anybody, just anybody anymore.
I remember.
Well, trust me, I will never forget. But that's a way to do it because, my favorite comment, you've heard me say this many a time. Somebody goes to NADA, they see this really cool thing. It's a dealer, maybe it's a multi-platform CEO, whatever you call it. They come back and the people in the store suddenly, they get somebody knock on their door 3 weeks later. Hi, my name's Jimmy. We're here to set you up on the XYZ thing. And they're like, and nobody knew. And the person that signed up didn't remember.
Right.
It happens.
Oh, yeah.
But again, that leads to a very intelligent thought process is absorption. What can we absorb? Really, truly absorb. I was actually going through my last year's business card from an ADA that I picked up, and it was quite unique on whose cards actually in here, and people that I didn't realize that I actually met over an ADA, and I've been conversing with for the last year, and had no idea that we've actually met in person. But it's hard to absorb when you're flying around the show and you're going from booth to booth and saying, okay, give me your pitch in 5 minutes because I got to move to the next one. You can't really do it, so it's so important to set up that relationship that you say, hey, call me in a week, 10 days, and let's really book some time so we can absorb what you do.
I have a poll for everybody now. I have a poll. What percent of people in the vendor space actually have car dealership experience?
Ooh.
15%.
I'm going to address that. There are some, okay, but the frontline people probably not that much, okay. But whoever is the owner of the company, my experience is, I have all of you in here. When you're talking to somebody in your booth, you're going to know if they're car people or not, car men and women. You're going to know immediately. So all they want to do is close business and collect information, scan your badge, and that's their job. That's what they're supposed to do.
And then they put it into the CRM and they say, I talked to so many ups and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, but I'd say it's very few overall.
And I would also let everyone know, it was interesting on the NADA page yesterday that I was looking at, they're saying we don't sell the list to anybody. So if you're buying a list, be highly suspect.
That's good.
Right.
Here's the thing. It's just like in the dealership world, Russell, of course, Larry, this, Peter. Doug, I'm not sure if you had dealership experience or not, so I'm not purposely leaving you out. But it was when the factory rep showed up. And it's the new one. The kid's fresh out of the U of blank with a BA in whatever. And they come in and they start telling the dealer how they should be handling and merchandising and everything else. And man, oh man, it's just like, the shark when he eats. The eyes roll back.
Jeff, I don't mean to correct you. It wasn't, they didn't come in with the BA, they came in with BS.
Well, listen, manufacturers, I know a couple of people, car people, really well, very smart car people that were up for jobs with manufacturers, but they didn't have a degree.
Hmm.
And they weren't hired because that was the requirement. And it could be a BSc in zoology. That's okay. There was a B.
Right.
And I used to have a guy, I have a broker, and he passed away, unfortunately, but his business card said a capital U, little c, and S, a big S, after his name. And I was used car salesman. Now that's a degree for you.
So there's one last thing I'd like to share with people. I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
No.
No. Okay.
No.
There you go.
You can see the QR code on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That you can download that QR code from LinkedIn and you can save it as a picture, put it as your screensaver on your phone. So then it becomes a two-way street when you're handing over information. So if someone wants to connect with you, have them connect by scanning the QR code on your phone, and that way it goes directly to your LinkedIn account and you will be connected. So it's not just them having your connection information, it's a shared amount. So it's invaluable. I probably picked up about 500 to 600 connections last year just from network events and from walking the show with that on my phone. So
Yeah,
it's
that's a good point.
And also, if they scan it and you're already connected, the person goes, hey, you know what? I should be talking to this guy because we're already connected. And let me go back and look through his postings or her postings or whatever. It's a very valuable tool.
Yeah.
Well, to Russell's point, it's that type of experience right there, right? That you scan it and you go, hey, we already are connected, right? And it just moves into the top of the list of people you got to follow up with when you leave there. For relationship first, right? For relationship first, then maybe we'll do the deal. But that's what the opportunity is.
But here's the best part of that. It adds credibility when there is none. Just because we're connected on social doesn't mean that we're actually aligned in our business practices. But it automatically, in people's perception, it gives credibility. Hey, I connected with this person already, so let's move forward.
Yeah. The other thing you can look at is a company we've had cards with for several years called OVOU. They have a card that has a pretty interesting near field communication and also QR code system that you can integrate with all those things. So you don't have to have business cards. It's basically a one card scenario. And then people can scan it, but it also is near field. So if they have that on their phone, they may not even have to scan. So that's kind of where business cards are going. But in terms of Peter's idea, I think that's a great idea.
Trying to walk away with it.
Yeah, but I think Peter's got a great idea there using the same QR code. So if all you do is use their platform to have that information, you can then have LinkedIn or whatever else you want on there. Yeah.
Final question before we go, because we're running out of time.
Yep.
Somebody talking? No. The two letters, and we'll see Tim's eyes just perk up. AI. What can we tell these people? Because AI is going to be a big deal there. We know that. And our first exposure to AI was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Brook AI was a sponsor. And what a cool thing that was. Like, it was just super duper. It was so good. But we're now getting into that stage, and I joke all the time about bringing in the Terminator's arch nemesis here because it's heading that way. But what do we tell people how to really navigate through this whole AI thing? Because that's the new thing.
Get as much information as you can. Don't buy a damn thing, and then get in the human side of AI and let's vet them. That's all I'm saying.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Period. Bar none. I mean, that is a perfect intro, to get in this room and build it. This thing is going to be freaking huge.
Those two, they're just gushing.
Right.
Seriously,
Well,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
Go
go.
ahead, Lenny.
One of the brilliant minds, and somebody rattle off some of these names of the co-hosts, please, because I'm not caffeinated enough to do it. But seriously, you guys, that's what we're doing. We're here to vet them to make sure that we're behind them in order to be able to share with you, so that vendor or otherwise, because there's a lot of things, these ones that you can set up great partnership agreements to make, to grow your own businesses, right? So, and be timely and whatever and progressive with your use of AI. And these guys, these brilliant guys like Tim, and like, I don't want to insult anybody, Tim and Russell and Jared Kilway's with us now, and Grace Scott and Hunter Swift and Jennifer Sanford, and on and on and on and on.
Right.
And we're all attached at the hip, and we collectively are going to vet all these people. And if you're not for real, Nate is perfect. Nate's with us. Sorry, I didn't
You're stuck in.
your camera's on. But anyway, Nate too, wealth of knowledge. And through what we do best, one of what we intend to do best is we intend to be the source for information on anything related to AI, and to learn from sources of information. So this is really exciting.
Jeff, maybe we need a show on what you learned at NADA about AI, and obviously we can have Wendy and the crew on to talk about it, to give some knowledge on that.
Well, next Monday, if anybody's alive, that's our show, is a little bit of a recap of NADA. And it should be very interesting. And, you know, in the old days, we could sit there and go, you know, hello, you know, and give that type of computer voice, except now it's like, hey, what up, man? I'm your AI bot, baby. Actually, I'm trying, Russell, I apologize because I've been doing my little Southern type accents and I don't mean to make fun of it. So, and I was very disappointed, and I told you, Tim, last year in Dallas, nobody talked like that. So I was really upset. I was practicing my y'all. We're running out of time. Final comments, everybody.
Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today, because we got such a great perspective from a lot of people that have gone to this event many times. And this will be my second event and my first time in Vegas, period. So I'm really excited about it. And as everyone,
don't lose too much money.
No, hey, let you know, there's this old saying, you see it on commercials, you know, all the time. What's said in Vegas stays in Vegas.
That's
bullshit. Because everybody's got a camera. So I'm just telling.
There's some interesting lawyer ads there.
And the old thing, what went on in Vegas didn't stay in Vegas. It came home with you.
Russell, Peter's gonna be with me. Russell, Peter's gonna be with me. How much trouble could he possibly get in?
Exactly.
No comment.
No comment.
Like twins, Arnold and Danny.
Arnold, Nick. You know what's funny though? When I tell people that I'm going to these things in Vegas, etc., they'll go, oh, like, yeah. And I go like, no. I fly in, I go to bed because I get in late, I get up early, go to the thing, walk, talk, get a couple little events after, go to bed because the next day's early, and it goes by in a blur.
Yeah.
And then when you're going to the airport, you're going, oh, I can't make it to the gate, it's so far, your feet are killing you. So, but I should get that little scooter. Larry, comments? Oh, you're busy.
No, I just, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at NADA, and as usual, Jeff and Ian, a terrific show. Thank you so much. We love your show. We love you guys.
Thanks very much.
Y'all go by and see Nathan out there at ASC, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll try and sorry I jumped in late, guys, when you invited me. I'm Nate Special. Ian, you and I have met, I think, remotely and in person a couple times.
Yes.
But that's what we do for, you know, that we analyze technology and compare and contrast everybody in the space. So we looked at all the Brooks and Sellers and the Alios back when. We actually pulled them out of our portfolio because more of them left than stayed. Now we have, you know, so many kinds of AI, and it's such a ridiculous buzzword. I mean, I've been selling AI in the call center space for over a decade, right? But it's just a matter of, you know, the type of AI and how it's being used. But we're going to see it everywhere. And it'll be fun. And I'll try and meet back with you guys then, you know, and start being present in this show. I think it would be good.
Yeah, it should be
6255 in.
Yes,
Yeah, nobody else got a
6255
birthday
is our
here, so,
booth.
yeah.
Thank you, Russ.
All right.
I just sent you a connection request, Nathan. I'm working on a show, not too distant future, AIAIO. And, so for those of you all, you know, we'll definitely, I'd love to reach out, sure you have you on as an official guest, perhaps, with Tim there, and then, you know, Wendy can be there. By the way, I Googled the human side of AI. Guess how many results there are in Google for the human side of AI? 933 billion.
Wow.
It's all good.
Wow.
All right.
Go to perplexity.ai and ask the same question.
So we're gonna have
I
to
can't
get.
even spell it.
We're gonna have to get a good
Perplexity.
SEO expert. Go ahead.
Perplexity.ai, SEO experts.
Thank God for spell check.
Passe. That's passe. This is branded search. Perplexity.ai.
Interesting.
Perfect.
We are out of time.
Yes.
Thank you all. We will see you in a few days. And safe travels and everything else. And thank you so much. And you know what we got to do, Peter, Larry, Wendy, Russell, we got to get together as a group and do a group broadcast. Well, from there. Tim can come too. Maybe even Doug.
Oh, geez, thank you.
I can't wait to see everybody. All the best.
Oh, that's good.
Thank you.